It's 6 a.m. You haven't moved. You haven't spoken. You haven't even opened your eyes yet. And somehow, there's already a cold, wet nose pressed directly into your cheek like it's owed rent. You try to roll over. Bad idea. Because now there are paws on your chest, and if you've ever had a 60-pound dog standing directly on your sternum at dawn, you know this is not optional. You open one eye. They're already staring at you, not blinking, just staring, like you personally hung the moon and also owe them a treat. The whole room smells like, okay, this is gonna sound weird, but you know that Frito smell? That corn chip thing that comes off their paws? That's your morning right now. That and the residual warmth of a dog who has apparently been sleeping on 80% of your blanket since 3 a.m. You try to feel annoyed. You cannot feel annoyed. You have already lost. Now here's what most people think is happening in that moment. They think, my dog loves me because I feed them, because I walk them and give belly rubs and scratch behind that one specific ear in exactly the right spot. It's transactional, simple, like a vending machine. You put in food and walks and the occasional treat, and out comes loyalty and tail wags and what I can only describe as absolute, unhinged devotion. Honestly, even a lot of dog trainers frame it this way. Reward system, positive reinforcement, Pavlovian loops. And look, there's truth in that. But let that explanation sit for a second. Let it really settle. Because it's a little cold, isn't it? It makes your dog sound like a very fluffy slot machine. And I don't think that's the full story. So here's where I was going to say. Dogs do this because they associate you with food and safety and comfort. And actually, wait. No. Pause. Look slightly off to the side. That's like saying you love your best friend because they once split a pizza with you. It's technically true. It's also completely missing the point. Because here's what the science actually shows. Your dog doesn't just recognize your function, they recognize you. Neurologically, specifically. There's research, legit peer-reviewed MRI research, that shows dogs process human faces using similar brain mechanisms to how humans process faces. They're not just tracking the person who holds the leash, they're tracking you, your face, your presence, the specific, unrepeatable fact of you. Gregory Burns at Emory University stuck dogs in MRI machines. Voluntarily, by the way, he trained them to sit still, which is a whole other level of impressive. And when dogs were shown images of their owners, the caudate nucleus lit up. That's the part of the brain associated with reward, love, and anticipation. And this wasn't triggered by food cues, it was triggered by... On top of that, dogs can isolate your scent from over 100 other humans with a precision that's honestly a little unsettling if you think about it too hard. They know you, not just as a concept, as a specific, irreplaceable individual. Look at camera. I was going to put a brain diagram here, but honestly, just trust me on this one. The science is doing something real. Okay, I need to talk about the guilt section now. You're welcome. Every time you pick up your keys, your dog knows. Every time you put on shoes with a certain kind of purpose, they know. Alexander Horowitz, who runs the Dog Cognition Lab at Barnard College, has studied what happens in a dog's brain during owner absence. And what she found is that dogs experience something remarkably close to anticipatory anxiety. They're not just bored when you leave. They're waiting, hoping, because they don't have a concept of you'll definitely be back in 4 hours. They just have you left and you came back before, and the desperate, patient hope that both of those things are still true. Hold up your keys. Feel that. The little pang when you grab these and see your dog's face change. Yeah. That's not irrational. That guilt is you correctly reading a very real emotional signal. Now, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, you've probably heard of it. But here's the part nobody really stops to absorb. When you make direct eye contact with your dog, both of you release oxytocin, you and them, simultaneously. Nagasawa and colleagues published this in Science in 2015, and what they found was that this mutual gaze loop is chemically identical to the bonding that happens between human mothers and their newborns. Your dog has essentially hijacked your parental bonding circuitry. They didn't plan it. They didn't strategize. They just looked at you with those eyes. Short pause. Meanwhile, they're doing tippy taps in the kitchen because they heard a plastic bag crinkle from 3 rooms away. And this didn't happen by accident. Dogs didn't evolve from wolves who happened to tolerate humans. They evolved because they could read us, connect with us, hold eye contact with us. Over roughly 15,000 years of coevolution, the dogs who stayed near human camps, who responded to emotional cues, who made that eye contact, those were the ones who survived. We accidentally bred an entire species to understand us at a neurological level. Golden retrievers, bless their entire beings, just took this to a completely unhinged extreme. Stare into camera for 2 full seconds. But here's where it gets a little strange. Your dog doesn't see you as human. Not in the categorical way you might think. Research in social attachment theory suggests dogs classify their owners not as a person, but as something closer to a safe base, a primary attachment figure. Like a parent, like a pack anchor. You're not human to them. You're something more specific than that, more personal. The warm, slightly chaotic, occasionally food withholding center of their entire world. And yet, with all of this science, all these MRI scans and oxytocin studies and behavioral research, we still cannot fully measure what a dog feels. The caudate nucleus lights up, the hormone flows. But subjective experience, still a black box. We're projecting a little. We're probably also right. And that tension, knowing something is neurochemically real, but not being able to prove the feeling behind it, is exactly what makes this bond feel so ancient and so strange and so worth thinking about. So here's what you can actually do with this. Make eye contact, on purpose, calmly, and know that you're both getting a hit of something real. Sit on the floor with them. Sit down. Right now. Just do it. Let them sniff your hands when you come home before you rush off to do something else. Don't cut short the reunion. And those zoomies? When you walk in the door and your dog absolutely loses their mind in circles, that's not random chaos. That's a neurological release of built-up attachment energy. 15,000 years of evolution exploding into your entryway at full speed. Let them have it. Remember that stare from the beginning? 6 a.m., cold nose, unblinking. They weren't staring because they wanted breakfast. They were doing something that 2 different species almost never get to do, sharing a moment of genuine neurochemical bonding. That eye contact was oxytocin on demand. That stare was them saying in the only language that 15,000 years of evolution gave them, "You're my person, not your food, not your leash, not your function. You, okay? Your turn. Drop in the comments, what's the weirdest thing your dog does that you have genuinely never been able to explain? The muffled sleep barks where their paws twitch, the random zoomies at exactly 9 p.m. for absolutely no reason, the deeply judgy stare when you eat something without sharing even one bite. I read every single one. And next time, we're going into something I think is going to genuinely change how you think about your dog's silence. Because it turns out what they don't do around you says more than almost anything else. See you then.